Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good evening. Welcome to this edition of Health Matters. As we know, COVID-19 is all over the news, and that's exactly what it's going to be part of our show tonight. Please stay with us as we unpack some of the highlights of what you need to know here in South Africa and around the world, what is happening with COVID, and also looking at nutrition. Yes, I know there's been a promo going on ITV about Healthy Lifestyle Part 2, and we were going to look at salt. We have our beautiful Elenia back with us, a nutritionist, but she did do some information with regards to salt through her travels, but because of the latest outbreak and contagion virus that is around, this is a show that's going to be dedicated to nutrition and COVID-19. We welcome our specialist in studio. Firstly, Dr. Fatima Baba, our medical in-house specialist from the IMA, and Elenia Kolokotronis. I got it right this time. Yay.
Thank you.
Specializes in women's health, and in this instance, she's always available to help us guide through, and today specifically boosting our immune system. I know you in another time, in another space, we will be talking about salt awareness, because it is Salt Awareness Week within our health calendar. But yes, as you said, salt can wait. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. I must also remind the viewers that our WhatsApp line is open. We won't immediately be taking calls, but the WhatsApp line is open, so you can WhatsApp questions from about the second segment. Let us get settled into this whole COVID-19 conversation and immunity. So, Dr. Fatima Baba, if I could start with you, please take us through. We had such a lot of discussions, and there's so much that we need to know. But right now, here and with the new tomorrow, literally being the self-isolation, big close off of all schools and tertiary institutions, I think some workplaces have also closed down, and instances promoting to go and work from home. So what do we need to know with regards to going out and the coronavirus and the confirmed cases today in South Africa?
Okay, so
what must we know?
At the moment, what we need to know is that, well, if you personally have had no contact, or you haven't traveled out of South Africa in the last 14 to 21 days, then obviously leave your house only for necessary, we need to exercise social isolation. What does social isolation mean?
Okay.
It means that you're not to be having gatherings of more than 5 people, literally. You shouldn't be going out for tea parties with your friends, or hanging out in the malls, or as we do, window shop, and then,
Play dates.
Correct. There shouldn't be any play dates. You shouldn't be doing, being, I wouldn't call it irresponsible, but living our day-to-day lives as we generally know it. So you're meant to live within the confines of your home. That's what you should be doing. Now, I'm going to talk from a family.
But why is that?
So that is because the COVID-19 is a highly contagious virus. So it spreads really quickly and really fast. And it also spreads from surfaces and hand to mouth, hand to nose. So if, for example, a person does happen to have a COVID-19 and they touched this surface and then they moved away. So on the surface, which is not a metal surface, it lasts about up to 8 hours. If it was a metal surface, it's up to 12 to 14 hours. Sure. If it was a plastic surface, it's actually the least amount of time. So it's already stayed there and the person's moved along. Now, I've come and then I've touched the space, for example, and then I've gone and touched my mouth and my nose, and I'm already then, well, a carrier, because now it's on me, okay? And like that, you go on and you move on the virus from person to person, okay? So that's the first thing. It's highly, highly contagious. Now, it's not a virus that makes you particularly ill. So when countries are hyping up the disease, people don't actually understand what you're doing, because you really feel like you've got a common cold. And that's the symptoms. It's really just a common cold. So for every one person that's positive, so one person spreads it to 300 people, 2.5 people spreads it to 700 people. Okay, so that's the stats currently at where we are. So that's not making them positive, that's passing it on to them, and then they're going to pass it on to someone else. Based on their eating habits, their nutrition, their immunity, they will either be positive or negative.
Okay, so looking at, Elenia, thankfully there's been more recovered positive COVID-19 patients than there has been deaths. Thankfully, we praise the Almighty for that. But so what does that tell us about those patients' recovery or their status before they got the COVID-19?
So I explained it to someone this morning. If you're healthy, doesn't mean that you're not going to stub your toe or cut your finger. The virus isn't specific. If you're healthy, you can get it. If you're unhealthy, you can get it. The difference, actually, should I say, is your immune system before and your age. And again, this isn't the higher percentage, this is just the general consensus. So for example, say now I had a strong immune system, it wouldn't mean necessarily that I won't get it. I could have it, but it won't mean that I might pass away from it as someone that's a lot older than me might.
Correct.
Also, if I don't have an illness, for example, lung disorders, or they found 2 of the confirmed cases had blood conditions. Those are things that add to the detriment of having the illness. Okay. Having said that, however, you need a strong immune system, not only for this, but for many other things that might come before or after. So, for example, if your immune system is weak, you might not get this illness, but you are very susceptible for others, and no matter how much medication you take over a course of time, it will either be recurring or it won't go away. So we have to be very mindful that, yes, nutrition is vitally important, because not only does it feed your immune system, your innate and your, it doesn't matter, it feeds, your immune system needs to be at its optimal, especially now. Especially now. Doesn't mean that you won't get it. It just...
Well, I think also what you're saying is 100% correct. So if you have a better immunity and you do get the virus, it will be milder than if you had a worse immunity. So
let's talk about prevention, hygiene, possible, well, actually not possible, but yes, self-isolation, social isolation. Let's talk about prevention.
So prevention ideally is what we need to all be doing at the moment. Like we said, so there's a lot of guidelines that have come up from the NICD, and they're actually being updated every day, which is somewhat, it's a little bit daunting for us, even as medical professionals, because we have to literally be keeping up with it every single day. I'm sure you're finding the same thing. So today is that if you've traveled in from anywhere in the country, you've got to isolate for 7 to 14 days. No question. So
self-isolate.
Self-isolate.
Yeah.
And what does self-isolation mean? It means that you cannot come into 1 meter to 1.5 meters. So firstly, you've got to be in your house. That's the first thing. Ideal self-isolation would be in a room with its own toilet, and you shouldn't come into contact with other people. And obviously, they will come and give you your food or, things like that. But that's obviously if you have symptoms. If you had no symptoms, then you're not going to come into 1.5 to 2 meters of another person. So this is too close.
For comfort.
Okay.
That, well, right now, today,
okay.
I would have preferred you to be over there somewhere.
Yes, I'm glad you showed.
Okay, so that is what we need to understand. So people who...
Unfortunately, we can't move you guys any further, then we're going to be off camera.
Fine.
Okay.
Well, alhamdulillah, we are good at the moment.
You have yourself
right?
tested, you're good. Okay.
We're good. The other thing that's very important to know, and it's everywhere, and I think we can all go back and read it a few times, because it's easy to forget. Like, I'm going to say this and I stand corrected, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So if you come into contact with someone and that makes you a primary contact, you've got to go into isolation, and then you've got to wait. If you have symptoms, then you test. If you don't have symptoms, you still stay into isolation, and then you test on day 7 to 10, right? Now, if you then test positive on day 7 to 10, or you develop symptoms and then you test, then your quarantine extends into 21 days.
Oh,
okay.
Not 14.
Right. Now, for example, you were the primary contact, and then you contacted another person, and then they went out and contacted other people. So you've got a primary contact and secondary contacts. So the secondary contacts should have been in isolation already, because they were in contact with the primary person.
Okay, but now we're missing some links, because yes, they were in contact, but people are not telling each other that I am sick.
So that's the biggest problem, right?
She's 100% correct. What we discussed last week was that should you feel that you have any symptoms after you've quarantined yourself, you need to phone first.
Yes, I missed that part.
No, but you're correct. It's,
Phone the NICD.
you need to
Well, the
phone
hotline, your
hotline,
doctor,
yeah.
There's
someone.
We're lucky. South Africans very proactive. We're lucky because, and I don't mean this, harshly, but we're lucky that we got it a little bit later. We're a little bit more.
No, but it's right. We actually
So-
got an idea of what we need to do.
Okay, this discussion is heating up, and we're going to talk about prevention, self-isolation, isolation, social isolation. This is the key word, the buzzword that we'll be talking and going around, and we'll talk more on that, COVID-19 and your immune system, nutrition, just after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. Health Matters on COVID-19 and nutrition. There is a hotline number. Please do Google NICD. You can find those details. We've been running it for a while. But in studio, Dr. Fatima Baba and Elenia Kolokotronis. Elenia K Nutrition. That's where you can find on the World Wide Web. Okay, so we spoke about self-isolation, prevention, hygiene. I want to look at the importance of those self-isolation in the essence of people not necessarily informing you that, I've traveled or I've got a bit of a cough and a flu.
So people are really scared because they feel that, I don't know, there's a bit of stigma attached to it. They're going to be infecting other people or people are going to look at them weirdly. The thing is, it's a worldwide pandemic. Everyone's going to come into contact with someone who has
In
it.
fact, I heard they said 70% of each country's population will get it.
No, that's right. So I'm not sure if you've heard that a lot of countries are talking about moving towards herd immunity. So they're hoping that a lot more of the population gets it so that you develop immunity against it quicker.
Okay.
Then you're getting it slower. I mean, obviously, it's still being discussed by the virologists and the rest of it. But, there's talk about that happening. But the thing with isolation or self-isolation is that the rules are there for a reason and they're there to protect other people, mostly the immune compromised. So like Elenia mentioned, the elderly, they are highest at risk for not getting better. So remember, most people that not will recover.
Yeah.
The elderly, their chances are very slim. So of the most that are not recovering are all the elderly people.
As well as people that are doing quite severe treatments, chemos.
Okay. Yes.
The ill,
the
chronic illnesses.
immune
systems are-
compromised people. So
And that's why immune systems
So
are
let's
so
talk about the
vitally.
immune system. We hear about it all the time, strengthening our immune system. How do we strengthen our immune system? Where do we start? And I think, in basic, simple terms, if we can just explain, as you would to a layman, what your immune system is, because when I Googled it, it showed me all these parts of my
All the
body.
graphs and
Yes,
all the-
and I thought it was just maybe one organ, but it had to do with a few things, parts in your body, even your bone marrow.
Bone, your
So
spleen.
please tell us, what is the immune system? How does it work? And how do we need to understand it?
Without
firstly?
making things very difficult,
Okay.
and the doctor will add here because I want her to, it is what protects you. So like your burglar bars and your electric fences protect baddies from coming into your home, your immune system is what protects you from bacteria, viruses, and all those
So
kinds
how
of things.
does good nutrition protect us from those viruses?
Right. If you're eating the right kind of foods, because nutrition can be really bad too, which
I
we're
don't
all
know.
sitting with a
If
big
it's called
issue with now.
nutrition, then it's called junk
nutrition
food.
there. I like that picture.
Yes.
Good nutrition does many things. It
And works in conjunction with lifestyle.
100%. But also emotional state is important here because, the one feeds off the
I'm
other.
so glad that you said that.
100%.
Yeah.
Most of the people I work with are not in a good space and therefore everything else will suffer and vice versa. But having said that, let's move away now. Your immune system needs to be fed by something.
Yeah.
Your red blood cells.
So look at that, all parts of your body. Does
There
it
we
work
go.
together with
There,
the
it
immune
shows
system?
good.
Yeah.
Spleen, red blood cells, lymph nodes, it's all there. I didn't have to remember all of that.
So-
It's all there for me.
So all of that works together.
Something needs to feed that.
Okay, and nutrition feeds all of that?
Nutrition either feeds that or devastates it.
Okay.
And so I find a lot, and the doctor will obviously jump in here and tell, either agree or disagree, but hopefully agree, that your recovery, say now you've
God forbid you've got the
God
COVID-19.
let's say that's happened to you. Your recovery depends largely on how your immune system is
strong.
functioning
Yeah.
or not. If you get an autoimmune disease, that's a huge thing moving away from this now. Your immune system wasn't functional or wasn't being fed or sustained or nourished correctly if it was not.
You say that,
else.
and I'm crazy thinking now. All of a sudden, I don't know why I didn't. My sister's got lupus, so if anything happens, I'm going to use her, unfortunately, as an example.
So she's higher at
yeah.
risk of getting the COVID-19. She really is. All the people with
And
cancers.
she's not part of the elderly.
No,
she's
she's
not
not.
young.
She's a young person.
She's 10 years younger
So, I
than
mean,
me.
We've there's young kids. I mean, I've got a patient who came in who's 1 year old, and they've got an innate immunodeficiency disease. They were born like that. So even though children don't get affected as much, there aren't that many reports of kids under 10. This child would be higher at risk.
Correct.
And
So they're
that's
saying that children are mostly carriers because they're usually younger, they're stronger, their immune systems are good.
So I'm looking at my two and thinking,
Oh, they're so beautiful.
little time bombs
They're
waiting
perfect.
to explode on
So
us.
please self-isolate them.
So, and then
Let them not
so why,
carry.
Why
yes.
did you mention that? So there's another thing, is that isolation also of a primary contact and a secondary contact is not the same isolation. So say, for example,
Okay.
the two of us, you primary and I'm secondary, and we husband and wife or brother and sister in the same home. Your isolation to my isolation is not the same isolation. You've got to be like properly isolated because
Correct.
you were a primary contact to the person, whereas I was a contact to you.
me.
So my isolation is less severe than your isolation, but it's still isolation.
We had a case like that, and the parent actually literally isolated themselves and stayed upstairs.
Yes.
They did not come downstairs.
So this is what China did when they had self-isolation for individuals that were tested positive. They put them in little booths.
Yes.
So do we understand self-isolation like that?
No.
No, not
I
in South
don't see it
Africa.
like that.
People don't isolate themselves like that. So, for
Okay.
example, I'm going to use my own family again now. Like I said, my brother-in-law came from Dubai, and my sister is behaving like a freak. So she literally said to him, okay, so you're landing, the door's open, the guest room door is open, walk straight in and then close the door. And this is a person who's just got a travel history now. So no ice, no contacts, no flu, no symptoms, no nothing.
No hello, hug, nothing.
Nothing. Just so the door's open, you walk straight in, don't touch anything, she says, and go into the room.
Okay.
And so he was doing quarantine, but he needed to be in isolation. So they were
okay.
giving him his food, like knock the door, give him his food.
So describe that, quarantine and self-isolation.
So quarantine is where you don't come into contact with a single other person.
No one.
Okay.
No one.
Solitary.
Solid yourself.
Just you.
That's
So just you in a room.
In a room.
You do not leave the room.
You
Nobody
do not leave
enters
the room. Yes. You
Okay.
don't go in, nobody comes out. You wipe your own bathroom, your toilet with whatever it is.
Okay.
Whereas isolation is you can be, they don't advise it, right? Because of the rate of spread. But if you have no other circumstances, because remember we're in South Africa, we've got, we don't have that infrastructure. Then you can obviously isolate in a house, but you've got to be 1.5 to 2 meters away from everybody. Literally.
That's
so it's
part of self-isolation.
That's
it can
self-isolation.
be confusing.
Your kids, they
Yeah.
want to hug you and touch you.
Exactly. So you've got to be cruel to be kind, honestly.
Okay, but if they haven't been anywhere and you've maybe been somewhere, you've got to do a whole sort
Yes.
of wash, clean
Just for
everything just for a
that
little while.
Just for that
Okay.
Period of
period.
time.
Just for
So I
that
think of the
period
little kids.
time.
Okay, so again, there's been this hype around vitamin C. Is vitamin C really the big, be all and end all? Do supplements really play a role in boosting
I'm going to let
our
Elenia
immune
answer that
system?
question.
I just looked there now and smiled because a whole bunch of people are waiting for me to say what they don't want to hear because I get emails after I leave here.
And my
Vitamin C.
tablet is buzzing already.
Vitamin C is vitally important if it's in its raw form. Sorry, guys.
what's
So
your
I
thoughts
just
on
bought
IV
a whole lot
vitamin
of
C?
supplements,
Look,
vitamin C, which I give my kids every day anyways, before this
listen,
whole
that's-
thing came up.
I give mine too.
Yeah.
I give mine too, but theirs is more of the raw kind. However, since last week we started doing vitamin C, little chewables. There's nothing wrong with vitamin C supplementation. The IV I'll get to now. The raw form though is not an anemic or industrialized form, so your body metabolizes it and uses it much quicker. It really does. Add it, you get the roughage, you get everything else moving through you if you're eating it in the raw form.
Okay, so how are we? Okay, raw form, so raw broccoli.
No, not
Raw-
no,
I know the oranges, the
Steam it
pineapple.
at least.
You can
And that's just the thing. Just tell people how to prepare
Yeah,
it because
'cause-
I came home and my hubby made some vegetables and he basically cooked the squash in a big pot of water. And I said, well, you should basically drink the water
drink
now.
the water.
Drink
it's
the
fine.
water.
Okay. The general rule of thumb is that if
Shame,
you...
he tried to make
Listen,
lunch.
that he tried, he gets
Yeah.
an A for effort and a big kiss, because
Yes.
there are many husbands who just are not interested.
Because we're not wanting to buy food or
No.
anything, and we're
So I
taking
think
turns
so.
to make
Please,
food.
thank
yeah.
you for saying that,
Yeah.
right? That's very, very important, especially
Where you
now.
eat.
Yeah.
Where you eat, how you eat. Home food is better. Cooked food, home food in your own house. You're watching it being prepared. You know the sterility. You actually know where the ingredients are coming from. But having said that, we do not, under any circumstances, need to shop out all the stores in the whole of South Africa.
Okay, so that's what's coming up as well. People have been stockpiling and panic buying. We've got a minute to take to our break, so I don't want to get too much
Okay,
into
so
detail with
before Elenia
that.
goes there,
Yeah.
the IVs, please.
If you don't need it, if you don't need it, you don't need to do it. Eat the food in its natural form.
Okay.
IVs being just normal
the drips with the
vitamins?
with the vitamin C, yeah.
so that they're offering, the vitamin C, vitamin B. If you don't need it, then don't take it.
May I just say something quickly?
Yeah.
You don't need to stockpile and panic buy. Farms are still farming. Factories are still manufacturing. We aren't on lockdown. We're not going to starve. We're fine. Stop buying 50 bales of 18 two-ply toilet paper.
And tissues
You don't
and,
need it.
and sugar and flour
And rice, right.
and soap and hand
And broccoli,
sanitizer. It's
that
not
doesn't
on.
last more than
Broccoli,
2
buy lots
days.
of broccoli.
No, it doesn't last more than 2 days.
So no
Don't
stockpiling.
buy the
Okay,
whole.
so no stockpiling, but we talk more on that just after the short break. COVID-19 and nutrition with our specialist in studio. Don't go anywhere. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. A very good evening. COVID-19 is all over. Coronavirus is definitely the talk of the town and the discussion almost at every corner, which you shouldn't be at. You should be self-isolating in your home.
You should be doing social isolation.
Stop social isolation. There we go. Too much
social
S's.
isolation.
Too many.
Look, the thing is, social isolation is not doom. Please don't annihilate me for saying this. There's Netflix, there's YouTube, there's PS4.
There's homeschooling now.
There's the Quran, a time to recite. I was actually listening to watching a video to say how Allah has actually forced us,
to read
literally forced us into our houses to read the necessary books, Quran, literature on YouTube.
That is why in every negative there's a positive, guys.
When we're all looking at the bad, and I firmly believe this, and look, I'm going to say this on air, and I'm sure you are going to get a million WhatsApps as soon as this comes out of my mouth, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Go ahead.
Yes, Allah Ta'ala does everything for a reason, and in every situation there is khair. But He has also told us that we have a duty and a responsibility to society. So we cannot, as Muslims, say that Allah has sent the COVID virus, He is going to take it away. Yes, He is. But we need to make an effort.
Exactly.
That's the first point. The second point is, as Muslims, and Mufti Menk has given lots and lots of hadiths on this. You can go onto his online web. You can look at Maulana Ragi. He did a live today. He mentioned a lot of pertinent things that we need to take in. Like we really, really need to take it in. And the second thing is that as Muslims, it's almost like a farz. Okay, I shouldn't use that word because, but it's like really something that we need to do. So you need to abide by the laws of the country you live in.
Yeah.
And in our country, the president has now said we are a state of disaster. He has given us the rules that we need to follow.
And those entering our country should follow that.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And even us. So if he's saying that you can't read 100 in the masjid, it's not because he doesn't want you to pray. Go home and read your salah. You can read salah anyway. I can Soma read here. You can show me.
Complicate things for ourselves, guys.
Don't complicate. And especially when we need to consider others. If there's a fear of death and infection and illness, then, our Prophet, our religion guides us even on that.
Everywhere.
So although there are individuals, there are organizations that are not maybe agreeing with this, we as individuals can still make a decision on our own. And that's who we're talking to right now, individuals. So we have people asking us about various questions. Self-isolation, social isolation is what we want to focus on. Don't go out and have coffee dates and play dates and now think of the time, it's holiday, go and, what did you say, window shopping.
Movies. So having isolation is not going to the movies.
No, not going to the movies. Okay.
And also movies, I'm hoping are closed because there are more than 100 people here.
I hope, absolutely.
I'm
So
hoping.
just a comment that has come in. Salams, the N95 masks and sanitizers are in short supply. However abundant available at the black market at exorbitant prices. Usually sellers are astute businessmen, exorbitant prices. Do you think that legislation should regulate this?
But can I just, I'm sorry.
yeah,
them out.
as these
Guys,
necessary items are sort of difficult to obtain by health professionals even.
The mask isn't doing much,
Okay.
chaps. So whoever sent it, please be assured that you don't need to pay exorbitant prices for the mask because the mask isn't going to help you
Okay.
unless you're sick.
You are
So
sick,
that's
yes.
it. So the health workers, so doctors, nurses, people in the
Industry.
They
right,
need it.
They need
Yeah.
the mask. And like, so for example, a person who's got COVID is then in quarantine but needs to go out to be tested. On his way, he needs to put
wear
on
his
an
mask.
N95 mask and some gloves
There we go.
to get to wherever he's going. So every person walking around does not need an
A mask.
N95 mask.
And
So
gloves,
question-
guys,
gloves.
gloves. When you're taking those gloves off,
You have to dispose of it.
you know,
yeah.
so
wash your hands
The most,
again.
the best thing for you to do, and they've said this repeatedly, is hot water and soap.
Yeah.
can I just
Water.
say why?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Let's get down
Human
to that.
skin, you know this, human skin, for especially this
Yeah.
virus,
Washing the
is
hands.
like a glue. There is an element, and I don't know what it is.
either, I can't
There's an
remember.
element in 99% of all soaps, any soap, that unglues it, makes it slippery and slidey, and comes off.
There was a brilliant video of a teacher showing children of how to get rid of germs. I'm hoping that my producer had put it together. I'm going to check and hopefully play it a little bit later on. But literally, pictures on the web as well. When you wash your hands as well, they've got this ultraviolet of
Did you
just
see?
3 seconds.
Amazing, huh?
What is it? 20 seconds.
So
What,
it
3
is happy
yeah.
birthday twice. Or La ilaha
Oh, sing
illallah
happy
Muhammadur
birthday.
Yeah, so
Okay.
happy birthday to you twice.
Okay.
Or La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Slowly.
Slowly.
Yeah, that's
Washing
20
hands.
seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the other thing is, so people talking about hand sanitizer, right? You can make hand sanitizer at home. You can use methylated spirits and then you dilute it down with some water. That's fine.
Spray.
Yeah, that's fine.
Could you use that for the surfaces as well? Yeah, wash your hands
So
20
for
seconds.
the surfaces, you can use normal, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, a bleach. You can use household bleach,
Bleach,
and
okay.
you dilute it down 1 part to 9 parts
Okay.
as a surface
1 to 9
sanitizer.
parts. Okay, because that's a question that came up as well.
So 1
Okay.
part to 9
So
parts.
immune boosting, we spoke about that and we're still going to be speaking about it. What's best to boost your immune system, food and supplements? What's the impact on a Muslim person that dies with COVID-19? There's stories that the body should not be touched and that deceased should be cremated and not buried. How will a person get rid or be cured from this COVID-19 virus, Dr. Fatima?
So COVID-19 virus is not, it's not a cure, it's a virus. You get through
Like
it.
the cold and the flu.
Correct.
Yeah.
There is symptomatic management. So like you're coughing and you're sneezing and you've got a sore throat, it's symptomatic management. That's why you're in quarantine for 21 days. You've got to work through the COVID-19.
Get through it, through your
Yes.
body, and then hopefully your immune system. Let's talk about the immune system. Supplements, foods, what do we need to know?
Anything in
Somebody
a raw
wants
form.
to know. Boost.
Anything in a raw form, guys.
So what are your thoughts on the golden latte, ginger and
The
turmeric?
only thing-
turmeric.
Very good point. The only thing good about it is the turmeric. Again, go and buy turmeric root, go and buy ginger bulb, juice it, put it in some boiling hot water, drink it. Grate some turmeric in a salad. It doesn't need to be kilos of it.
So
But just
is it curcumin? What's that now? What is curcumin? Is that not turmeric?
I have no idea, guys.
Okay.
Sorry, if
Haven't
I'm a
heard
bad
that one.
nutritionist because I didn't know the name. Sorry about that.
No,
Okay.
I just know
maybe it's just
turmeric.
some kind of
Just
root.
remember, anything in its natural form has been given to us
Okay.
for a reason.
Okay, we've got that video where the teacher
Oh,
is
good, let's
teaching
see.
this little one about soap. So let's play it quickly. Have a look at this beautiful, I think, demonstration of how this teacher is teaching the children in a class. And this you can use at home with your friends, but be in self-isolation, so use it with your kids at home. Okay, let's take a look.
Isa, dip your finger inside the virus water. Okay. Did the virus move at all? Did any of the pepper flakes move? No. No, right? Okay. Now, Isa, take out your finger. Do you see any virus on your finger? Any pepper on your finger? Yes. Yes. Okay. Now, we don't want the virus on our finger, right, you guys? So Isa, can I ask you to dip your finger in soap, clean your finger? Okay, this is the importance of how we wash our hands. Now, Isa, does your finger have soap in it?
Yes.
Okay, now can you dip your finger back in the virus?
How did it move?
Do you see that?
Yeah. It moved.
You guys saw that?
Yeah.
You see how important it is to wash our hands?
Importance of washing your hands. A brilliant, brilliant video. Only a minute, and I'm sure you can Google it. This has been going around everywhere on Facebook, on Instagram. I'll try and post it on our pages as well. So, brilliant example of the little ones.
But food too, hey
Yeah.
guys, please. You
Yeah,
need to
wash
wash
the
your
food.
food.
Wash the
Just
foods.
because you bought it from a reputable place
You
doesn't mean.
wanted to add,
100%.
Dr. Fatima.
So that just brought something to mind, is
Yeah.
that there's a whole list of things going around on social media for your kids to do. There's the online schooling. There's a Lego thing that they can also do online.
Okay.
There's a brain booster course. Everything's online, so they can do it at home. And then a lot of mums are doing sort of puzzles, and then they're giving them coloring things to do.
Baking.
Baking.
I'm actually so glad you brought that up because people are panicking. I was panicking. My husband was saying, we need to schedule. We can't because he's
You
also
need a
at home
PA
working
now.
from home. I work from home as well.
So that's the
we need to
thing.
keep them busy.
I mean,
and
I'm sure
that's
you
as a
know,
mum as well.
We should be
little
keeping
ones.
this as serious as possible, but keeping it a bit lighthearted, I think, is letting our listeners. You're going to remember everything
Yes.
we told you this today. So there was a mum sitting on a computer, and she had her 3 kids lined up, and she had tied their legs together and duct taped their mouths, and there was like, that's also a plan. You can just
It is a
line them
plan.
up. And
I
There's a
also
plan.
saw. I also saw what you can do to get your kids to calm down was to put, I think, a 5 rand. Okay, we don't have 5 rand notes. The 10 rand notes, which is the lowest, against the wall on their forehead, and their foreheads with the 10 rand in between. So whoever stands there the longest with the 10 rand between them.
At least that. I lied to my sons. I said, boys, in the garden is a dog, go find it. And I had about 45 minutes of
Freedom,
peace.
I know.
We don't have a
so
dog.
we're gonna.
We don't have a dog.
Good one, Elenia. Okay, so shopkeeper wants to know, which we're actually going to deal with when we come back, touching money, touching coins, touching people, shaking their hands. What does that mean? A shopkeeper from Cape Town wants to know, what does he have to do? Because he's in the shop. He has to be in the shop. More of your questions just after this. Welcome back. This is Health Matters on ITV Networks. And remember, if you've missed any of our shows, including this one, you can catch it on YouTube. There'll also be a repeat tomorrow, I think, at 1 o'clock, and on Sunday morning as well. So please do tell your family and friends. And if they are listening right now, we have a few minutes left to take their questions via our WhatsApp line live through the live stream, itvnetworks.tv, or on channel 347 as you are watching now, DSTV. So welcome back to our specialist in studio, Dr. Fatima Baba, and Elenia, our nutritionist. So there has been some questions around hand sanitizers, handling of coins, money, handshakes. Fatima, do you want to clear that up?
So Elenia had a thought that, I mean, unless you're planning on wearing your gloves the whole day without taking them off,
Without
then
eating.
yeah.
No,
you should-
eating with the gloves as well.
Even
Yes.
if you're using a knife and fork,
Don't
it's not
touch your
going to work.
face.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also
So
remember,
only handling the money.
yeah.
Only handling
Or
money.
if you're handling the money with your hands, you've got to wash your hands with soap and water often.
Yeah.
And at the moment, shaking hands is really not a no-no.
Okay.
Okay, so you shouldn't be shaking hands with people. Like, what did the president say? That
Elbow.
one. Correct.
Okay.
That's the correct way. And I've got my own one. It's the Spock. So you can.
I've
your
got
boy is good.
I've got the Turkish one. What is it? The
So
Ertugrul one.
everything that you don't need
Yeah.
to touch your hands with. So the Chinese greeting, that's fine. The elbow, that's fine. The Italians are doing a leg
I've
one.
seen that, yes.
That's also fine.
Honestly.
You know, as long as you're not touching your hands.
Okay.
You can just wave as well.
Yeah.
But having said that,
Are we
with the
hugging
money-
people, Elenia? It must be really bad for you.
No, I've hugged a few people because
Yeah.
skin to skin contact like that is not going to give me
Okay.
the virus.
Okay, so let's look at some of the non-compliant people and individuals around this. How do we educate ourselves? How do we educate them? How do we, I know it starts at home, so let's start at home. And if there are family members, I know we don't want to get in a whole war debacle, but at the end of the day, you want to spread as much good information as possible. Help us understand, Elenia, let's start with you. You come also from a very, your Greek background.
And Italian. My mom's
and Italian.
My mom's from Italy, so you can
and
imagine.
Quite quite a very stern character and I think personality. You know, their ways is often what they want to go for. And if they have a choice to do something, and they're going to stick to their guns.
Correct.
So talk to us about people that are quite stubborn. And we heard about a family at the NICD, and the husband refusing to have himself tested.
I think that it's wrong to say they've lost touch with reality, but I think that people have to start realizing that it's not a singular issue, it's a worldwide issue, and you're part of the world. So we're not making this doom and gloom, because we are making great strides. We spoke about this, how we had great results today with one of the hospitals in China closing because there weren't enough patients. Shops are reopening. There are still farms that are making milk and vegetables and growing those things, so stop panic buying, chaps. So, you know, there's the supermarkets are stocked. Things are going a good way. However, it's going a good way because we're curbing that curb. Is that what they're saying the whole time about curbing that curb?
You've got to flatten the curve. That's what we've got to do. So you've got to flatten the curve. The only way you can flatten the curve: self-isolate, social isolation, washing your hands, cleaning surfaces, being aware of your environment, knowing where you're standing in society.
Just be a team player, guys. It's not a big deal. It's like pollution. Are you going to go throw a straw on the floor? No, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
And
so just
mostly, at most, it's 14 days. So ideally, if you've come, it's 48 hours of your life, literally. You're going to go into isolation, you're going to test, and then you're going to know, literally. But remember also, they are not testing everybody. You've got to fulfill the criteria. So you've either got to have a positive contact, or you've got to have a secondary contact, and then you've isolated for the 7 to 10 days, and then you're going to be tested.
You can't just go and say, hi, I want to be tested.
Exactly.
They can refuse you.
No, they are refusing, because remember, we also need to have our kits for... Hopefully in future we don't get there, but we are going to get there. Like you said, 75% of every country will get to the where 75% has the virus. So we will need it for everybody else, because we need to, then say.
So is it true that it doesn't survive in heat over 25 degrees? It's worst in cold water. Cold weather.
Well, there are for and against. There is no solid evidence for that. But there are lots of theories saying that heat is protective. There are lots of theories, conspiracy theories.
But the reason they're not agreeing with that is because, for example, if you go to countries that have the virus,
Australia,
that are incredibly hot right now.
It's doing fine there.
So
New Zealand, Australia.
It's living there.
It's living there happily, down under.
He's happy down there, wherever he is.
Okay. So again, the stats. What are we looking at here in South Africa and in the world? And I know there's this huge number of people that has recovered and this death, but at the end of the day, it's still death. I know we have confirmed, as I checked yesterday, 62 confirmed cases in South Africa.
So there hasn't been an update from the day that the president announced. So he said 61. It's 62 yesterday. There is an online portal that's giving you the statistics of the entire world. You can literally just go online and Google it, the coronavirus stats, and every country, the amount of coronavirus patients in that country is there. South Africa, the NICD needs to actually update as they're coming through. It does take a little bit long, and we've got to bear with them. There is a lot of paperwork.
So this was 3 days ago, and when I checked my phone, when I checked the stats, it was over 80,000, almost 80,000 that is recovered, and the deaths have unfortunately moved up to, that's almost 5,000. I think it moved up to almost 8,000 to date.
Correct.
That was 3 days ago.
A lot of the deaths, I remember in Italy at the moment currently, and Iran, and it's, like we mentioned earlier, it's the elderly and the immunocompromised people that are not surviving the COVID-19.
Yeah, so at the moment, the death rate, I think, is at 7,800 plus and recovered about 81,000.
Correct.
And then there's 194 plus cases.
Because at the moment now, remember, it's now in Africa. So we adding.
It's in Africa. We've got it there. We right there at the bottom, little red dot. It's there. Elenia, immune boosters. People are specifically asking, what can they take? What do they need to stockpile?
Okay, don't stockpile. What you need to do is go buy fresh fruits and vegetables, vitamin C's, green leafy things, the kale,
broccoli, spinach.
You don't have to eat it raw.
Okay.
semi-steamed. There has to be a crunch to have some kind of value, nutritional value. I love that. Tomatoes, lycopenes, carrots. Snack on those things. Have raw fruit, citrus fruit, abundant. Naartjies, grapefruit, oranges, those things. I'm not saying drown yourself in it or make it the only thing that you're going to be eating, but you have to start being very conscious that what you eat is actually protecting you. Your immune system is what protects you. What feeds your immune system is what you're eating. Can I just say something very quickly?
Sure.
It's not difficult and it's not expensive to be healthy. It's not. I have spent the last 4 days in every supermarket in maybe 6 shopping centres. It's cheap enough for everyone to afford to buy.
Okay. And if you can't grow them, that's
grow
even
them.
cheaper.
And your thoughts on juicing? So if you don't like to
love
eat it, can you
juicing.
juice them?
Guys, especially for children.
Yes.
Just remember, you need 5 oranges to make a glass of juice, and you're not
And
going to
you
eat
can
5
dilute
oranges.
it as well, 'cause
you're not going to
it's
have
really
5
pungent.
oranges. So little
Yeah.
bit of spinach, little bit of oranges, some strawberries, maybe a bit of carrots, juice it
And make
drink
it fun. Put some honey in there, some seeds.
If you're going to juice it.
If you're going to juice
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And the green juices, Elenia?
Guys, if you are strapped for time, you can go buy one. They are everywhere, in every petrol station, in every...
Are they good enough?
They're good enough.
Okay.
Just don't put it in your fridge and wait 2 days.
Oh.
Okay, so buy it and drink it.
So can you make a head and just freeze them as well?
No.
Okay. So have them fresh.
I know you
I'm
and
so
I
glad.
discussed freezing, not juice.
Okay. At what point can you say that, let's just talk about the crisis of the last second, but sanitizers, water and Dettol, would that also work? Can
So
we make
remember,
Is there a
a
ratio?
sanitizer needs to have more than 65% alcohol
Alcohol,
content.
yeah.
So Dettol does not have that.
No.
Dettol is a good surface cleaner.
Antibacterial, that's
Yes,
fine.
if
Yeah.
you can use it for surface cleaning, that's fine,
Okay,
but you can't
surface
use
cleaning,
it for hand sanitizing.
Just remember, alcohol evaporates very quickly, so don't spray and have a conversation. Spray and rub quickly and then
Yes.
move along.
Your hands must be dry as well. Don't wipe them off.
Correct.
I've read that. What point can you say we are in a crisis with regards to the number of confirmed cases for South Africa? Is example 100, 1,000? What do you guys think?
I don't know about that because remember when in Italy 2 weeks ago they had the same amount of cases as we have currently and now they are sitting at over
1,000.
more than 3,000.
3,000.
This is, and without sounding harsh and cold, South Africa has thousands of deaths per year from TB.
Okay.
So I'm not being cold. I'm just saying that let's not panic.
We've got to put it into perspective.
We're putting it in context. You know, the average is 150,000 deaths in South Africa alone from TB. This is a new virus. We're scared. It's going to be fine.
You're gonna be good.
But
going to
having
be
said
fine.
that, you've got to be socially responsible.
Absolutely.
Take responsibility
Absolutely.
for yourself. Remember that this virus really loves to spread. It
Correct.
goes from person to person like wildfire, literally. And that is your responsibility.
So
And
we
then we'll be okay.
Yeah, we spoke about what to eat. So what do we stay away from? Because there are certain things
Anything-
that we like and we want to get
Anything
into.
that's industrialized with a high sugar
And
content.
you know we'd be vegging
Guys,
from time to time.
you know me. I'm a big fan of chocolate. We need energy and we need a certain amount of sugar. But the amounts of sugars in industrialized, anything with the shelf life, anything with all the e-colorants, the preservatives, stay away from it because what that does is, I'm going to tell you very quickly, for immune system.
Yes.
It inhibits the cells that help your immune system build.
Oh, I see.
It deteriorates your immune system. This is scientifically proven and seen. Stay away from anything with a shelf life and anything with too much sugar.
And ease.
And ease.
Fatima, we've got 2 minutes to wrap up.
Go.
Your final words on our nutrition and COVID-19 show.
Nutrition and COVID-19, everything that Elenia covered, raw, crunchy, slightly steamed. Please don't, juicing is great. So for people like me, I'm just going to be juicing them all, drinking
juicing.
and go.
Yeah.
I'll send you recipes.
Please. So build up your immunity. Try and stay safe, sanitized, and socially responsible. And
Very
remember
important.
to socially isolate. And that does not mean gloom. For the first time in my life, my husband and I have long conversations about things.
Brilliant.
There's
Look
always
at
a
the- look at the
positive in this
positive.
negative.
Absolutely.
Always. We
Look at the
painted last
positive side.
night. We write letters.
I mean, your
there's always
husband
a
has no
positive.
sport to watch, right? Neither does mine. So
There we go, sport and stuff. I know. So hopefully this will allow the families to get to look at the bright side
We
of
can
things.
bond as families.
It's what was it? Just a couple of weeks, a few months, and China is probably going back to normal. Or maybe that's what I need. What we need.
And just
the Almighty is sending us a
Correct,
message.
and also the human race is actually pulled in together very nicely.
Oh,
I'm not trying
my
to be
goodness.
Mother
Okay,
Earth,
it's true.
but we
It's
really
true.
have done so well.
Absolutely.
We really
And I
have.
must say that, and I know we will maybe, but our president actually stepped up to the board
Amazing.
quite
Yeah.
nicely.
Amazing.
We've curbed this so much earlier than any other country actually has. So I think we've got a fighting chance, people. We
gonna
must
be
not
fine.
let it go.
62, yes, definitely. At 62 cases and already have our schools closed, it's a
We're
brilliant
in
start.
proactive.
Italy closed at 3,000 cases.
Thank you, ladies. It was an absolute
you for
pleasure.
having us.
It was a morbid a topic, but a good, vibrant information, and I think that it
As it
will
should be.
hopefully transported well with our viewers. Thank you so much, Elenia
Thank
and Dr.
you.
Fatima.
Thank
Till
you.
we'll see you
Jazakallah khair.
again.
Thank you.
All the best to everybody out there. Self-isolate, social isolation. Just go out for the necessities, and if you have any sort of symptoms, please contact the hotline. Don't necessarily go out and visit your doctor. Yes, and not forgetting what Elenia said. This is a show on nutrition as well. So be healthy, good stuff. Green, crunchy, lightly steamed. Repeating what Dr. Fatima said. And we will continue with important information on our next Health Matters show. Please do stay with us and catch the show. Repeat tomorrow and on Sunday, and follow us on YouTube. Wassalamu alaikum and goodbye for now.